Yeah, because I think that there was more good in here than there was bad, and those of you that have seen this show all the way through will appreciate how this season contributed to the overall story, but. Huh. I still feel a little torn here, right? Although I don't think I'm going to do the best job of explaining it, we'll see. So, jumping into the meat of the matter, having the main focus of this season be more on the others rather than the main group, a good idea to help with the world building of this show, and it added a interesting new complexity to the situation here because owing to those supply drops that I think occurred right at the beginning of this season and a little bit into last season, all ideas of these people trying to make a living on the island, especially knowing that the others have various complexes around here, there's just no point to that storyline anymore. So you have to up either the fractures within the main group or highlight the others. They choose to go with the others because fractures within the main group, it's not that you've done that to death, it's that there's not that much new stuff that you can do. Like coming up with another new group of people, that's just not going to work. Plus, that new group there, you had two convenient loopholes for that. You had Rose, the black woman, wondering what was going on with her husband, and you think she's crazy. Turns out she wasn't. And then you have Michelle Rodriguez's character at the end of the first season, but the way that they're putting her there, you're like, she's going to have to play a bigger role. The question is she going to do it in the flashbacks or with the main cast? Turns out they do a bit of both, but it's more with the main cast. But coming up with another group, that just wasn't possible. And when it comes to exploring tensions, unless you're going to do a rehash of Claire not trusting Charlie, and the group not trusting Locke, and then trying to manufacture a love triangle between Jack, Kate, and Sawyer, what else is there to do? What? I mean, like, they did try and do that with those two new people, but like, I was not impressed by that, and then just writing them off, that was the best thing you could have done, in my mind. So, yeah. New fractures within the group, as things stood, just wouldn't have worked. You gotta do the others. So, good on that. The conflict that ultimately developed between them, so a lot of people apparently have said that they didn't like the episodes where Jack, Kate, and Sawyer were basically just trapped there for the longest time, and then coincidental factors for Jack happen to put him in a power position that lets him get Kate and Sawyer away from there, along with revealing that there's a couple of not exactly moles, but people who just hate the others within their ranks, and then the gradual flushing out of, I'm pretty sure it's Juliet, but for some reason I keep wanting to say Julia. I don't know why, but her character, I like the fact that it was in the season, but here's what I didn't like. It's because this season kept backtracking in terms of everyone's timelines. Like, why is Locke suddenly needing Sawyer after the previous episode that involved him showed that the others had Locke's father? Why do they keep showing different bits of origins for Ben and Juliet, but they aren't telling them in order? That's what got to me, with all this. And it isn't just that original group of episodes. They did this for the entire season, obviously, because Locke's bit doesn't occur until like the 3/4 mark. And they're also starting to jump around non-sequentially with flashbacks. Now, okay, wait. But they did that before, a lot of you are saying. You weren't complaining about it there. Very true. I wasn't. But that was because, other than a bit of Michelle Rodriguez's character that they seemingly have left out, and of course now that her character is gone, that's off the table. Other than that, I felt like I had a pretty good grasp of things. Then filling in pieces, blah blah blah. But starting with this season, I can't keep track anymore. That's not to say that the individual bits aren't bad, because, Jin, you know, adding those little bits to his backstory, keep in mind, this is the bit that, no, I did a bad job of phrasing that. Adding the bits of his backstory when we are seeing everything from his point of view. So I'm not talking about the new revelation of his father, assuming that it is his father. It's gotta be his father, but just the bits that he knows, I think that was good. It added to the caricature. But all of Sun's bits, making her, having cheated on him, and even though I think this was alluded to in Season 2, both of them being this close to leaving each other for X, Y, or Z, and then it's starting to get odd. And having to get money from her father, so Jin's own mother doesn't spill the beans, and that's a clever twist for the episode. Very clever twist. But how it plays into the overall storyline, it's just getting a little muddled with those two now, unfortunately. Same thing with Jack going on his drug or alcohol binge. Now, early bits in Season 2 or this season did illustrate that he had problems. That marriage that he was in the middle of doing, like at the end of the first season, it's revealed that this isn't even his first marriage. At least that's what I got. No, I'm not going to go to the Lost wiki and then look up all the backstory, because the only way I can do that is if I look at the actual character. Okay? Because when it comes to each episode, the flashbacks, they're always shown in the order that they're shown in the episode. Okay? I'd have to go to the characters page in order to sort all this out chronologically. That's going to expose things that I haven't been exposed to yet. But stuff like that, it got to me. Like these new revelations that are coming out of less obvious places. Because, I mean, like, I kind of get that they wanted to make the less faulty characters, Sun and Jack, have more faults, but I thought the whole point of exploring Jack's backstory was to add more about his father. But speaking of his father, the bit where Jack and Claire are half-siblings? Well, it does help explain why Jack's father was in Australia. Okay, that's very good, but in the present, somehow I doubt that that's going to matter, because the only person that probably knows the relation is Jack's father and then a significant other that involves one of those two, but Jack, there's no way that he's been told about that, so somehow it has to matter for Claire. But how are you going to pull that off? So it's a nice little bit, but unfortunately, it only is going to matter for Jack's father. Everybody else, something tells me it's not going to matter one bit. Yeah. But now that we have that little bit there, something tells me that Jack's father passing might play more into this than I'm expecting. Although the breaking of the plane, I don't think we ever truly got that answered with specific words in the show, but it's because the button computer program wasn't done and there was a mild electromagnetic burst and then the plane just... Yeah. Okay, fine. Yeah. But now that whole place has basically been, as in the words of the producers, if you have the Blu-ray for this, now that the facility that we saw for most of Season 2 has quite literally been just, like, reduced to this, I think that it's safe to say that we're not going to get any backstory for Clancy Brown's character, not that I really expected it to, though, again, I really do think it is the same character that was talking to Desmond and yet was confronting Sayid earlier that same season. Right. Okay. Okay, so, Kate and Sawyer. So, you remember how I was saying last season that I thought that the show was trying to set the two of them up? Well, I actually knew that they would be getting together because... presumably, when this season was airing, the clip of them having sex in the cage was all over YouTube. So that was actually my introduction to Lost, seeing those two going at it. So I actually knew that that was going to happen from the get-go. I was just trying not to allude to the fact that I already knew that. But even then, I correctly deduced that the show was going down that way. Now I know what you're thinking. Jack saying at the end that he loves Kate, to me, it just seemed like something that they were just putting in there because things were getting confrontational, and even then he doesn't follow it because Kate's looking at him going, how am I supposed to react to that? He basically says one thing and then he's done. Now to be fair, one of the others did say, "Oh, you broke his heart, Kate." Okay. Again, I kind of thought that he was developing some kind of feelings for her, but they weren't doing enough. So, yeah, so I really hope you're not just going down the stupid trying to manufacture another love triangle bit. Okay, there's more than enough clues that Kate prefers Sawyer. They do it multiple times afterward. Okay, we know how this is gonna end up. Okay? Right, so what's the point to Just like what was the point with Sawyer's pacemaker? Later on in the season, he's doing stuff where he's running around, not as much, I'll give you that, but he's still doing stuff, okay? I think that pacemaker bit thing, that was a totally bad move. Okay. Okay, so now let's talk about Locke. So him, seemingly working with the others, I take it less as him working with the others because he was the one that knocked out Sayid in the first season when they were trying to angulate the thing. So his bit about not really wanting to leave the island is not as crazy as it seems. Although his little bit at the end, I'd be willing to wager that I missed something, but if you're really trying to explain big reasons as to why Jack should not have answered that phone, you need to actually explain yourself. Now, Ben, yeah, everybody would just figure that he'd say something like that. Locke, Kind of, but they're a little more willing to hear him out. Jack did give him the opportunity. It's subtle, but it's there. Locke just pointed the gun at him. Said nothing else. Not really a good way to do that, you know. So the revelation that Locke's father is the actual Sawyer person, even though it seems like that's just a pseudonym. I'm sure I butchered that word. Okay, here's my thinking about that. If that had been the plan all the way back from, like, season 1... Because I'm pretty sure that they did have the bit where Locke's father steals his kidney. If they had known they were going to do that from season 1, I'm okay with it. If it was decided later on that that's who they were going to have be the original Sawyer, then I'm not happy with it. But if I was to look at Locke trying to infuriate Sawyer enough to murder the real Sawyer, Locke's father, that does seem like something that Locke would do, because he's demonstrated he is willing to kill in cold blood, but here's the catch. If he's got a personal connection to the person, suddenly he just can't do it. It's like with the fictional universe I've mentioned a few times on this channel. One of the main characters, towards the end of the storyline, does try to manufacture a situation where she will end up dying during the last battle. But due to circumstances, she doesn't. But she's not the type of person that can... Even though I don't get why they always do it here, doing it here seems to make more sense to me, but whatever. Yeah, so that does seem like something that Locke would do. The fleshing out of Desmond's bit, well, unfortunately, the bit where it seems like he's time traveling, I no longer have a good read on this guy. And it seems like the bits that he had with Jack, at least I think it was him, with Jack in season 2, it seems like that was just put there. The real dynamic is with him and the Penny chick, but it seems like both of them had a little bit more that they weren't telling the other, unless during one of Desmond's jumping back bits, he actually installed something on her that caused her to play a bigger role in this than previously she would have. Somehow, though, I don't think that's right, though. Again, the non-linear telling of this season is really getting to me, yeah. Now, I'm still going to keep up with this, of course, because I know for a fact that these earlier seasons are longer than the later seasons, so even though I'm halfway through the show in terms of seasons, in terms of episodes, I'm closer to 2/3 of the way done. So, it's not exact math, but you know where I'm going with this. So, yeah. So yeah, I'm in it to see how this ends. I want to know how this ends. That last shot of the show, because I've seen the last shot of the show, I want context. Okay. Yeah. So that's Desmond. Though I like that they're trying to make him more of a good guy. Charlie. Well, get this. Once I see the full story arc, oddly, I'm not bothered one bit. Yeah, because I mean, like, if there's a character that represents the good on the show, and then you want to eliminate that as a blow to a couple of the people there and the audience, well, you know you can't get rid of Jack especially since you've made him less pure this season, so that leaves Hurley and Charlie. But Hurley, they have a little bit more backstory to fill in there, even though it's more or less just throwaway lines. So I don't think we truly need that to be fulfilled. But then having Charlie, it seemed like that you had done it, even though I swear somewhere in there's a little bit of a continuity error with those flashbacks. It's subtle, but it's there. But how he went out? Actually, I'm not bothered by it. He embraced his fate. He volunteered. And he went out making a difference for Desmond. You helped me, I help you, buddy. And both of them accept it. And even then, I don't think Charlie thought that he could pull off what he did. Diving down there. And he did it. He made a difference, and he knows he did. Yeah. I'm not complaining one bit here. That was great. I wouldn't have expected it, but once I saw it... So, because of Jack's father, connection to Claire, I've already discussed her. Saeed. I liked the ending message of that flashback, but how it fits into the overall story, I don't really see how it does, but maybe that's just the point. Alright, I think that just about sums it up. Whoa, I did not expect it to go this long, but it is a deep show, you know, so I guess it does deserve this. Alright, 3 seasons down, free to go.